don't employees in any size business. Brewer Insurance is a professional agency that you can trust with all your insurance needs and questions. They have employees benefit plans, property and business liability, workman's comp, and bonds. Call Brewer Insurance today at 658-8585 and start your insurance relationship with trust. Brewer Insurance, 133 North Center Street, Mount Olive.
Griffin Oil Company has a long tradition of service with Phillips 66 petroleum products, and Griffin Oil doesn't stop there. Griffin also gives you fast, efficient delivery with radio dispatch trucks. Griffin Oil Company, supplier of Phillips 66 gasolines, diesel fuel, home heating oil, motor oils, and lubricants. The finest products for the home, farm, and industry are just a phone call away. Call Griffin Oil Company at 735-4911. Griffin Oil Company, distributors of Phillips 66 in Goldsboro and Wayne County.
Fortunately, all of the precipitation has left our state, but we're seeing some clouds sneak back in from the north, and for the rest of this afternoon, we'll continue to see these clouds around, but hopefully by late this afternoon, the sun will pop back out. It will be quite breezy this afternoon with high temperatures of 49 to 55. Tonight, mostly clear, very crisp and cold overnight, low temperature 23 to 29. And as we head into Saturday, mostly sunny skies and still cool, but beginning to warm up with high temperatures 52 to 57. I'm George Bridgers at the Weather Center.
1150 WTPR.
Do me a favor, just tell that nice reporter that we don't comment on people who have passed from the public scene. Do that, it'll be all right. Tell him he wants to do a story on a lucky tie. I'll talk to him all day, but I'm not interested in this other stuff. Greetings to you. Just last-minute instructions to the staff here, folks, before Broadcast Excellence begins today, and it has now begun. It begins when my voice and dulcet tones reverberate and resonate all across the fruited plain. Rush Limbaugh on the EIB network back at you for another full day.
Yes, this is Susan McDougal. Are there any messages? Oh, shoot. I'll call you back later.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America, the way it ought to be. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
Live from New York, it's Open Line Friday!
Hey, yes, sirree. Can't wait. Here we are. Open Line Friday, where it's been said by some that we relax our standards. We don't relax the standards. We alter the rules somewhat. The standards remain the same. I've worked long and hard to maintain the lofty standards that exist on this program, and they will not be relaxed at all in terms of caller selection, but we will allow callers to bend the rules a bit in determining what it is we discuss. Here's the phone number if you'd like to join us, 1-800-282-2882. November 22nd, 1996. Now, this is a date that everybody runs around and says, do you remember what you were doing? November 22nd, 1963. And, of course, everybody has an answer. But now, of all days, can you imagine all days O.J. Simpson testifies on November 22nd? And I wonder if years from now people say, what were you doing November 22nd when O.J. Simpson said whatever he's going to say today? Anyway, here's the phone number if you'd like to join us, my friends, 800-282-2882, a hodgepodge of things in store today. Just some lovable fuzzballs, and I, of course, Rush Limbaugh, am a harmless, lovable fuzzball, so dubbed by me. the early years of this program, the people, shocked and outraged at what they thought went on this program, described me as alternately mean or vicious or cruel or cold-hearted. And my response was, just a harmless, lovable little fuzzball. So we call the random thoughts that I have now and then harmless, lovable little fuzzballs as well. And I wonder sometimes if I'm the only one who notices things like this. But since the election, have you noticed how the media has refocused and how the news has taken curious turns? For example, there hasn't been anything in the news about black church fires since the election. There hasn't been anything in the news since the election about kids starving in schools. Bosnia all of a sudden is heating up after the election, whereas before the election, we were barely reminded that there was a Bosnia. Since the election, 40 million Americans without health care, hardly mentioned anymore. And since the election, this is a big one. This is the biggest change I've seen. I'm sure you people will all agree with me. Bob Dole's a nice guy. All of a sudden, Bob Dole has become one of the nicest guys in America. Since the election, before the election, of course, Bob Dole was Darth Vader with a ballpoint pen. And since the election, out of the blue, all of a sudden, North Korea is testing missiles. Just some lovable little fuzzballs. Well, there's big doings going on in the House Ethics Committee. Now, let me try to explain this to you, my friends, so that you will understand exactly what's going on. I got some notes today from people that I thought were up to speed. I got some notes today from people I thought understood what was going on. I'm now beginning to question the judgment of those who send me little notes now and then. The note that I got that stands out was from a guy who said, Rush, what is Dick Armey trying to stonewall this ethics committee thing for? Isn't it better to take a small little hit if Newt did something and get it over with, rather than sit around and continue to try to stonewall this thing? Because then the press can sit there and say, hey, they're stonewalling Newt, the liberals are stonewalling the president, hey, it's the same on both sides. That's not what's going on here as I read this. Now, I'll pass this on to you so that you can be up to speed as you... because I'm sure this is going to be discussed on the Sunday TV shows. I think the umbrella under which my explanation must occur is this one. What was the meaning of this presidential election, ladies and gentlemen? As you listen to the press, as you listen to all the analysts who know more than all of us combined about what you, the voters, mean when you vote, what was the upshot of the election? The upshot was, and the president said it himself, that's why the sycophants in the big stream press decided to go along with it. Hey, the American people sent a bunch of Republicans to Congress and sent the big dog Democrat to Washington and the White House so that we would all work together. We could all get along. Bipartisanship. All right, that's the meaning. And we thought the politicians got the message. We're hearing Mr. Newt talking about conciliation, cooperation. We're not really hearing that from the Democrats, though. Mr. Gephardt, who's desperate to wrest the front-runner status for the Democratic presidential nomination in the year 2000 away from Vice President Al Gore, is not sounding conciliatory at all. He's saying if the Republicans, and listen to him, he does say it, Republicans, the Republicans, if he sort of just pops that P and spits it out, the Republicans. Gee, I almost gave myself a heart attack doing that. If the Republicans will indeed move to the center, says Mr. Gephardt, then we might be able to talk to them. But they haven't changed. This is the bottom line. The House Democrats haven't changed, and that's what this ethics committee thing is all about, what I'd like to call to your attention. Because just when you thought everybody's finally ready to put down their swords and work together without rancor or hostility, David Bonnier has gone and ruined the whole thing. Now, the House Ethics Committee is governed by a 1989 rule. It's a term limit rule, in essence. The 1989 rule, that means it's an old rule. It is a rule written when the Democrats ran the place. Understand this. It is a rule written when the Democrats ran the House of Representatives. The rule basically says that members of the Ethics Committee can serve a maximum of 6 consecutive years or 3 consecutive House terms. Well, it just so happens that the term limit, those 6 consecutive years, has been reached by 3 Republicans on the committee and 1 Democrat now serving on the committee. Now, Mr. Newt, as the Speaker of the House, would ordinarily be the man to appoint new members to the Ethics Committee. But Mr. Newt wants to avoid controversy, so he's turned the matter over to his majority leader, Dick Armey. The first thing Dick Armey did was call for a bipartisan way to reconcile the term limit rule. And here's a quote from Armey with the need to complete the committee's current work. He wants to work with the Democrats. That's what bipartisan means to me. He wants to work with the Democrats. He wants to come up with, how can we solve the problem? We got a rule here. We have a House rule that you Democrats wrote. Now, do you guys just want to punt the rule? You just want to let the rule, let's ignore it for a while? We are so eager here to get Newt that we'll just forget the rule? Army said we can't forget the rule. We got rules here. How are we going to reconcile this rule with this current investigation? Well, this whole thing has set Bonnier off. He is livid. This guy, you people in Bonnier's district, what did you elect him? You elect him to represent you or to be nothing but one of these partisan shills. At any rate, Bonnier denounced Armey's move as a Republican ploy to undermine the investigation and to pick a new judge and to rig the jury in favor of Newt. That's the story. That's just, and it just doesn't stop. The American people, you people said you want the fighting to end. You said you wanted warm, fuzzy, bipartisan cooperation in Washington. But no, we got the same old, nasty, mean Democrats bickering here over this stuff. They didn't say, let's shut down the investigation. They just said, we got this rule. We got to find a way to reconcile the rule with our ongoing investigation. So I guess we need to get somebody out there to Mr. Bonnier and say, Mr. Bonnier, kick, bite him. So I'm looking at videotape here of Clinton petting a kangaroo. Mr. Bonnier, kick. We all just get along. Don't you know what that's the election results meant? Mrs. Clinton in Australia with her husband, you may not have known that, but she is with him. She told an Australian audience yesterday that it's best to totally withdraw as First Lady. It was in a question and answer session after a speech beside Sydney Harbor. She was asked about her life as First Lady and stereotypes about the role, and here's what she said. There's really no way to escape the politics of one's time if you're in that position than to just totally withdraw. Perhaps have a bag over your head when you come out into public. Or in some way make it clear you have no opinions and no ideas about anything and will never express them publicly or privately. Ooh, does this not sound like sour grapes to you people? Put a paper bag over your head, totally withdraw, get out of there, don't say anything, don't have any opinions, don't have any ideas, never express them publicly or privately. She said, I think the only answer is to be who you are and do what you do and get through it and wait for the first woman to hold the position and see how that turns out. Hold what position? She's talking about the presidency here, I suppose. I found that somewhat interesting. There's a little tiff in the Teamsters Union, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be excited to hear this one. And the president, I'll find this real quickly. In Australia yesterday, the president had a very curious thing to say. And we got another CIA spy scandal going on. I had a story today that says the spy did what he did because he had alimony payments. His alimony payments were very high, and he was out of money. He didn't have any money to pay the alimony, or if he did pay the alimony, he had no money left for himself, so he needed to do something. No excuse. And I think it's sad that the CIA spy would try to subliminally blame his problems on a woman. I think that is just cowardice. But nevertheless, the president then, in questioning about all this while in Australia, this is after he compared himself to Richard Jewell. It's bad enough that he asked for sympathy on the basis that he be looked at same as Richard Jewell. He then had this insight, and I'm going to give you a quote. He had this insight about the CIA officer who is alleged to have spied for Russia. Are you ready? Here is the President of the United States, a Rhodes Scholar, an Oxford attendee. He didn't graduate, but he went there. Quote, "We don't want any people in our intelligence agency spying for other countries." No. Is that the new policy? We don't... We have a memo on this. I guess we better focus group this. We don't want any people in our intelligence agencies spying for other countries. I don't know. Why not, Mr. President? What harm could possibly come? Well, I mean, we're a nation at one with one another, are we not now? We're interdependent. I mean, I don't think a second grader would say it this way. We don't want any people in our intelligence agencies spying for other countries. I got a couple more things on this. But anyway, I got to take a break here because I'm a little long. You people stay tough. Hang right where you are. We'll be back and get to some calls in a minute here.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
You know, my good friends, wearing original Australian UGG footwear in the autumn is becoming more and more the rule. People have taken to UGGs with such enthusiasm, and why not? There's nothing timid or delicate about UGGs. These babies are rugged, they're warm, they're handsome, and they are too comfortable for me to even try to explain to you. But ooh, that sheepskin lining hugging your feet and toesies feels awfully good in the cold weather. Trust me on that. That as I've warned you people, look out for the fakes, look out for the phonies and the wannabes. Make sure you're getting original sheepskin UGG footwear. UGGs are perfect for walking around town, picking up groceries. And hey, you soccer moms, just slip them on and go get those kids at soccer practice. They work well that way. There's a complete line of Australian UGG footwear in great colors. Get them for yourself and get them as gifts, too. To find the UGGs retailer near you, call 800-729-8447. That's 800-729-8447. You're going to love UGGs. How do I know? Because I do.
This Sunday, CBS presents ER's Anthony Edwards in a powerful new miniseries.
There's a safe in here, and it's full of money, and I'm gonna find it.
But this time, he's not saving lives.
Please leave my wife alone, young man.
He's taking them.
No witnesses.
Anthony Edwards, Eric Roberts, and Sam Neill
However long it takes, I'm gonna know what happened in that house.
in Truman Capote's classic, In Cold Blood. Witness it from the beginning. CBS Sunday.
Good day, Mr. Phelps. This is a photograph of James Finch Chevrolet. Notice the trunk department. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take your team to the truck department at James Finch Chevrolet. You'll see all the new Chevrolet trucks. Test drive them. The new S10s, the pickups, the Astrovans, the Blazers, the Suburbans, all of them. There's a reason, Jim, why more people are buying new trucks from James Finch Chevrolet, and we must find out why. We know they have a great selection. Check out the finance plans and leasing arrangements. You'll probably want one of these new pickups for yourself. We'll allow that. When you have this information, report back to me. They're at 400 West Main Street in Bailey, LBJ Chevrolet Buick in Nashville, and Finchwood Chevrolet in Roanoke Rapids. Good luck, Jim. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. James Finch Chevrolet, where the impossible is possible.
Are you looking for a computer? Well, there are a lot of places to buy from. It all depends if you want this or you want this. Why buy a canary when you can fly with the eagles? At Exacom Computers. Exacom matches the computer to your needs, and you get free lifetime labor. Exacom Computers, a proud supporter of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, home of the F-15E Strike Eagles. Exacom Computers, Berkeley Boulevard beside Kmart, Goldsboro.
starts off another season for UNC basketball. The University of North Carolina Tar Heels and Dean Smith are on the road for a Division I competition starting at 7 p.m. from Springfield, Massachusetts. It's the Hall of Fame Classic. North Carolina against Arizona, and you'll hear it on 1150 WGBR tonight. And that game's being brought to you in part by J.T. Crawford Insurance, by AIM Electronics, and by the Intimate Bookshop. Join us tonight, 7 p.m., Arizona, North Carolina, on 1150 WGBR.
Are you? Rush Limbaugh, having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. This is the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, and our telephone number is 800-282-2882. It's Open Line Friday. Have here, my friends, the Washington Times of November 21st. And this, for those of you interested in government spending, this is, I think, this is just unbelievable. I'll read to you the last two paragraphs of the story. Well before the president departed on this trip that he's on now to Hawaii, Australia, the Philippines, and Thailand, an Air Force pilot expressed anger and amazement at the size of the airborne armada supporting Mr. Clinton. On this armada are two 747 jumbo jets that serve as Air Force One. The armada includes 31 missions by massive C-5 cargo planes, $11,000 per hour to fly those babies, and there are 31 missions. That means trips. We've never seen this kind of thing before, said the officer who has been involved in previous presidential support missions and estimated the total cost of the C-5 missions alone at $50 million. If I was a taxpayer, I'd want to know about it. Well, you are a taxpayer, and I've just told you about it, so now you know. Here's news out of New York today. Tough new federal rules on food stamps take effect today, requiring that food stamp recipients find jobs or lose their benefits. The new rules, which could threaten the eligibility of 100,000 food stamp recipients in New York, say that recipients must be working at least 20 hours a week within 3 months. If they aren't, food stamp vouchers would be halted under Washington's new welfare law. Notices about the new rules will go out to recipients in early December. Oh, yeah, I fully expect them to be received, too. Hey, look at this. Look at this warning we just got in the mail here. Unemployed New Yorkers between the ages of 18 and 50 face the loss of food stamps worth $80 a month. Those affected are childless and live in households with no elderly or disabled parents. Governor Pataki of New York plans to ask the federal government for a waiver of the rules in areas where it's hard to find jobs, counties, therefore, with an unemployment rate of 10% or higher. Well, I thought the president was going to fix this. I guess he never got around to this before flying off to the Pacific Rim. Now, this is a fascinating little story about how things happen, how they get done. It's out of the Washington Post today, Al Kamen's piece called In the Loop. Here's how House of Representatives women organized so quickly to confront the Army over the military's latest sex scandal. The idea of a bipartisan face-off was hatched on November 11th when Representative Susan Molinari, Republican New York, Patsy Schroeder, retiring Democrat of Colorado, and Constance Morella, Republican Maryland, were in the lobby of the Sherry Netherland Hotel in Manhattan. That's a nice place, by the way, folks. If you've never been there, Danny Kaye used to live there and had an apartment at the top. It's a stunning place. The three congresswomen were waiting for limousines to take them to a ceremony for Susan Molinari, who was named Glamour Magazine's Woman of the Year. The other two were past winners. That means that Patsy Schroeder has been awarded Glamour magazine's Woman of the Year at one time. So they were standing around outside a hotel. They were all dressed up. But the limos hadn't shown. So while waiting for the limo, which was late to show up, they began talking about the situation, the sexual harassment situation in the Army, and they hit on the hearing idea, which produced mega headlines a week later. So it took Glamour magazine, the Woman of the Year ceremony at the Glamour magazine, awarded to Susan Molinari, the Sherry Netherlands Hotel, and a late limousine driver, no Alan Park, this guy, in order for the idea for these confrontational hearings to get started. It's how it happened, folks. That's how it happened. Back in just a second, so stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Well, I'd love to stay and answer that question, but I got to go and get another deposition.
With Bill and Hillary back in the White House, now more than ever, you'll need to be on top of the issues and investigations. You need the Washington Times National Weekly Edition. Call now toll-free 1-800-97-TIMES and subscribe for only about $1 a week. Subscribe today and we'll send you the first 4 issues absolutely free. If not satisfied, cancel and you owe nothing. Call 1-800-978-4637 for the National Weekly Edition of the Washington Times.
This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
For WGBR News, I'm Thomas Vick. The Neuse River Council of Governments will be receiving a near $48,000 in state-appropriated funds to assist in local development efforts. The Wayne County Board of Commissioners have requested the state release the money appropriated in the 1995 session of the North Carolina General Assembly. County Commissioner Jimmy Ford says the money will be used for economic and community development activities and technical assistance to local governments. The Community Arts Council of Wayne County will hold its annual fundraiser this weekend. The 16-room Tudor-style residence of Wes and Jackie Seegers on Lake Wakena Road will be the site of a formal reception tonight at 7. Tomorrow and Sunday, the Seegers home will be open for tours. The theme of this year's fundraiser is Home for the Holidays. The Wayne County Board of Commissioners have shown their support for the widening of North Carolina Highway 55 to freeway quality from the Global Trans Part to U.S. Highway 117. The Commissioner Board has adopted a resolution supporting the idea. The resolution also requests the North Carolina Department of Transportation to include this project in the 1998-2004 Transportation Improvement Plan, so all citizens and industry of this area can benefit. Family Affair and Information Fair will be held by the Seymour Johnson Community Family Program Committee in celebration of Military Family Week Monday at the Youth Center on base. Representatives from the base, Goldsboro, and Wayne County agencies will be available to provide information on the outreach programs, school counselors, health programs, the family nurse specialist, the health department, youth flight, child find, substance abuse, family support, and mental health. Downtown Goldsboro will light up with the spirit of the holidays next Wednesday. Christmas lights in downtown Goldsboro will be turned on at 5:30 at the intersection of Walnut and Center Streets. Goldsboro City Mayor Hal Plunk says all are welcome to come out. Plunk adds he would like for all children interested to come out and help in the celebration. I'm Thomas Vick for WGBR News.
Many of us woke up and went to work with sunshine out this morning, but some clouds have sneaked their way in from Virginia. And that's what we'll see for this afternoon. Some clouds around this afternoon, but hopefully becoming mostly sunny by late this afternoon. A high temperature 49 to 55. Mostly clear, very crisp and cold overnight with a low temperature 23 to 29. And then on Saturday, mostly sunny skies and still cool, but beginning to warm up just a tad with high temperatures 52 to 57. I'm meteorologist George Bridgers at the Weather Center.
Open Line Friday. This is the Rush Limbaugh program, the most listened to radio talk show in America today. And we start on the phones now on Open Line Friday in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Greg, hi. I'm glad you called, sir.
Hey, Rush. Megadittos from conservative West Michigan.
Thank you.
I just saw a little interview with David Bonnier this morning that I thought you'd like a heads up on. And by the way, I don't watch Bonnier very much, so all I caught was this one little snippet. In reference to being interviewed regarding Newt Gingrich, Bonnier was referring to you. And he said, well...
Where did this happen?
It happened on the C-SPAN interview, live interview this morning.
Oh.
And in reference to you, he said, oh, by the way, I really don't watch Rush Limbaugh, nor do I listen to him, but I've heard other people tell me what he has said. And I know, for example, that he has referred to me as a pit Yorkie. And he talked about that a little bit. It doesn't really affect him, but it is rather nasty, according to Bonnier. And he said, oh, by the way, he has also referred to Chelsea Clinton as a dog. In fact, he used the word morph, M-O-R-P-H. He has morphed Hillary Clinton as being a dog in the White House. Now, I found that offensive. I found it to be egregious. Of course, I'm not surprised that he said something like that, but I thought you'd be interested to hear that, and I'd like to hear your comment.
Well, let's explain this. This is classic. I'll tell you what Bonnier's... We had Bonnier's opponent on this program, Susie Heinz, and Bonnier is... he's one of the most partisan, mean-spirited, vicious... Kind of like George Mitchell. He doesn't look mean. He doesn't sound mean. He doesn't act in an affrontive or aggressive way, but the guy's totally devoted to the destruction of his enemies. I can't think of the last agenda item this guy sponsored or spoke about. His total job now is to ruin Newt Gingrich. And as such, on the television show, we gave him a name, a pit Yorkie, as opposed to a pit bull. Because they call other politicians pit bulls, and other people had been referred to by the press as a pit bull, meaning mean, vicious, biting people, and so forth. And I thought that it would be wise to call Bonnier a pit Yorkie. A Yorkie's a tiny little dog, and we had an official dog on the Rush Limbaugh show, a miniature toy Yorkie named Jeb Stewart. And the dog was about 8 inches long, and that's where we got the idea, just a pit Yorkie. I mean, that's how, he's just yapping at the ankles, but not causing much damage at the time. So we didn't morph anything. We just got a picture of a Yorkshire Terrier and kept the ears and the snout and so forth and put Bonnier's eyes on it to illustrate the pit Yorkie. And it was funny. We'd do it, and sometimes the members of the audience would start yapping to replicate the procedures and behavior here of David Bonnier. Now, this business about Chelsea Clinton. My friends, I don't know how many times that this has come up and how many times I've been confronted on this, and therefore how many times I've explained this. But I seldom do this, but I'm going to ask those of you in this audience to help me on this and spread this. This was 4 years ago, was it not, Mr. Snerdley, when we started the TV? It has to be a little over 4 years ago. In fact, it might even be exactly 4 years ago within, a couple of weeks. And what happened was this on the television show, and there was no morph here. Clinton was elected. Bush was out. As such, newspapers featured the new ins and outs lists. This person's in, this person's out. They do this all the time, sort of a creative journalistic way to make newspapers exciting. And they had this list of things in at the White House, out at the White House, and one newspaper had out at the White House, they had a picture of the Bush's dog, Millie. And in at the White House, cute kid, is what this thing said. So we did our own version of this, and we decided to use the out of the White House dog and in cute kid. And in the process, one of the production people, when I said in at the White House or out of the White House dog or something, Chelsea's picture went up. That person was fired. For the next 3 days is, I tell you, we heard a lot of grief from it, and particularly from our Little Rock television affiliate. I mean, they were angry. They were threatening to cancel the show and so forth. So for the next 3 programs, we apologized profusely. There are those who to this day claim that we did it on purpose for a cheap laugh, and that's not the case. Now, I find it interesting that when people like David Bonnier or any other critic of mine, I'll give you another example. They have to go back, all the stuff they're doing, they go back 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago, and try to make you think that this is the stuff that goes on all the time. That was an accident. It was an aberration. The guy who did it was gone at the end of that week, pure and simple. But we could have stopped tape and done it all over again, and nobody would have ever known. And I'll take the blame on this one. I decided not to do that, just to let it go, and because it's what happened. You know, with the TV program, you talk to the people that were in that audience, the times that we stopped down, which means stopped because a mistake was made, and started over again, you could count them in 4 years on one hand. We just didn't do it. We just did the show as it was, and that's to be quite honest with you. After many shows, I felt, gosh, this is horrible. I could do better than this. I just was dissatisfied with my own performance on a number of occasions, but we just let it stand as it was because we wanted it to be real. This is what happened. Plus, you got a live audience there, and you stop down every minute to fix something. The audience is going to leave there and say, yeah, well, you should have seen what really happened. Yeah, they made some kind of mistake, and they stopped tape, and they started all over again. And I didn't want that sort of reputation, because if it were live, you can't stop down anyway. So this show was live to tape, and that's what we gave. So this mistake happened, and it's sort of comforting that this is all the critics have, to keep focusing on this thing. You might be reading, for example, about the plight of B1 Bob Dornan, who I guess now the final vote's going to be in today. Looks like he is indeed going to lose to this Loretta Sanchez person. Bob Dornan last guest hosted on this show 4 years ago. But if you read the press about Bob Dornan, you cannot read a story without the notion or without the notation Dornan, a sometimes guest host for Rush Limbaugh, trying to make it look like he hosted the show yesterday. And Congressman Dornan hasn't been here for 4 years. And here's the reason why. Congressman Dornan was either running for office or an elected official and such. You know, this is not a local show. This is a national show with a lot of impact, and people say, hey, we want equal time. Whoever was running against. No, we had problems in L.A. I can't tell you what kind of problems we had just in a local Los Angeles market from people out there who were hassling our local affiliate, KFI, for equal time because of Dornan getting 3 hours. So we made the decision that it gives us more trouble than it's worth to have to get into our affiliates into all this equal time stuff. So Bob Dornan has not guest hosted here for 4 years, but you would think that he was here yesterday. Same thing with this Chelsea Clinton and the dog business. I wish we could get the audio of these 3 shows. I mean, we had a 22-minute show. We must have spent in that week 10 or 12 minutes apologizing and doing it right on succeeding shows. Now, the fact that people want to ignore that, and even when critics are confronted with this, they oh, that doesn't matter. You just still did it on purpose and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's just amazing how this stuff keeps popping up. As I say, it's comforting because they have to go back 4 years to find something that they think is horrible and vicious and mean and so forth, when in fact it was a mistake from the get-go, and it was a mistake that we regret making, and we didn't try to cover it up, though, and I'm not expecting any credit for that. Some say that was stupid, Rush. You should have just zapped it and started the segment over again. But I've tried to explain to you why we didn't, and it was just that we wanted to be real time and live to tape and all this sort of stuff, because I guarantee on something like that, even if we had tried to cover it up, somebody in the audience would have run around saying, you should have seen what happened. It would have gotten out anyway. And even though it would have never aired, people would have accused us of having done it on purpose. Such is the nature of this game. Yeah. And I must, here's another thing. 2 years after this mistake happened on our program, Saturday Night Live, where one of the writers was buck-toothed moron Al Franken, did the same thing, only worse. I mean, it was intentional, it was vivid, it was vibrant. They made jokes about the looks of that little girl I wouldn't even conceive of. But they're a bunch of liberals on that show, I suppose, and they didn't get any heat about it. I noticed, however, when that episode of Saturday Night Live was rerun as one of their encore presentations, they edited it, and it didn't run again. So they must have caught some heat about it. But you never hear anybody complaining and moaning about Lorne Michaels, the executive producer of Saturday Night Live, and how mean, vicious, and cruel he is. And they did it on purpose. They did it on purpose. Who was Dana Carvey, right? I think... Oh, that's right. It was Mike Myers. Okay, that's right. It was Mike Myers who did it. Mike Myers did it on purpose. That's right. It was Mike Myers. It was really mean and vicious. Just the other day, Saturday night, on Saturday Night Live, they got their Clinton impersonator there, who's a pretty good guy. Took some big slaps at Clinton. And Norm Macdonald, who does the network news update, the what do they call the Saturday Night Live news parody thing, actually said, "Your president's a murderer, folks. Your president is a murderer." I forget even what the story was about. It said, and usually the audience was dead silent and quiet. And of course, I guess the excuses are made for Saturday Night Live. Well, nobody takes Saturday Night Live seriously. It's a comedy show, Rush. You're taken very seriously. I take that as a compliment, but we've never even approached the line that Saturday Night Live crosses all the time on all this stuff. So, Mr. Bonnier, if that's all he's got, he's just regurgitating old stuff, which I think spells out what his motivation is. They never, ever come at us on the issues, and when they do, they lie about what we say and what we mean, such as starving children, Medicare cuts, and all that. These people are despicable. And they're the ones out there claiming we want bipartisanship and no hostility and so forth. They're just a bunch of phony hypocrites who have run out of ideas. We take a break here, folks. Be back in just a sec. Don't go away.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Hey, folks, listen up. Now, when you order a subscription to my newsletter, The Limbaugh Letter, you will also get a great new video we've put together called Behind the Golden EIB Microphone. What it is a backstage look at the inner workings of the Excellence in Broadcasting Network with me, of course, as your highly trained broadcast host. See how the radio show gets put together every day. Watch Mr. Snurdly screen calls. See the rest of the staff in action. And hear my classic monologue on good versus evil. Now, you can't get this videotape in any store, but you can get it with a new subscription to the Limbaugh Letter. Call 800-457-4141. You get 1 year, 12 thrill-packed issues of the Limbaugh Letter and my new video, Behind the Golden EIB Microphone, all for just $29.95 plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Again, call 800-457-4141. Buy it for yourself. Buy 5 for yourself, or give it or them as gifts. Either way, my friends, just get it.
Price sells cars, and Leith of Goldsboro has the models, option packages, and colors you're looking for. So whether it's Cherokee, Dodge Ram truck, Neon, Sebring, LHS, or a Zuzu Rodeo, Leith has plenty, and all the styles and options you want. Save thousands at Leith of Goldsboro. Now's a great opportunity to find out how much you'll love your new Dodge, Plymouth, Chrysler, Jeep, Eagle, or a Zuzu. Come see Leith of Goldsboro, where price sells cars. Highway 70 West, Goldsboro.
Learn the facts on getting aid for college from Academics Plus. Financial aid for college tuition with over $40 billion available for college aid. And families from all incomes can qualify. If you have a child headed for college, write this number down, 735-9846. A FACT counselor can help you obtain college aid and help you file the correct forms. That number again is 735-9846. Learn the facts by calling Dr. Marilyn C. Benton at Academics Plus, 1411 East Ash Street, Goldsboro. FACT, a division of Academics Plus Incorporated.
Police Department, Sergeant John speaking.
Oh, please come quick. They're holding me hostage.
Now, calm down, ma'am. Can you try to describe them?
They're brown, ugly, and have antennas.
Ma'am?
They're roaches.
Roaches, is that your last name?
That's their only name. They're bugs, for goodness sake.
Well, you don't need the police. You need Griffin Exterminating. They can wipe out any pest problem you've got.
Even a leech?
You've got leeches, too.
Just one.
Ma'am?
My brother-in-law.
For all your pest problems, call Griffin Exterminating. Whether it's termites, fleas, or roaches, Griffin Exterminating is sure to come to the rescue. Call 735-3928.
Quality furniture at advertised prices saves you money at Jernigan Furniture. Don't miss this special event. Drastic reductions have been made on every item in the store. Jernigan's selection of sofas and sleep sofas are unequaled. Sofas starting at $5.99. Custom order your own design for only a few dollars more. Jernigan Furniture has over 400 sofas and sleepers in stock, and no doubt about it, no one has the selection of desks like Jernigan's. Prices start at $3.99. Jernigan Furniture, 2101 East Ash Street, Goldsboro.
You want in on all this? You must dial this number, 800-282-2882. Mr. Snerdley standing by now and answering and screening your phone calls. Here's John in Chesterfield Township, Michigan. Welcome to the program.
Rush, mega dittos from Pitt, Yorkie land, better known as David Bonyer's district.
Thank you for the from the Pitt, Yorkie land.
They're running all over the streets here. I think it's appalling what he's doing to Mr. Newt. I mean, the people around here sent him to Congress to presumably do some legislating. I didn't vote for him. I pulled the Susie Heinz lever. My only regret is that I didn't pull it 3 or 4 times like some of the people in B1 Bob's district did. But it's appalling what he's doing to Newt, and it's frustrating for people who live around here who have to put up with him.
Well, but he won the majority of votes, and one could assume that the members of his district know full well what he has been doing and want him to do more of it. So, I mean, that's the nature of the democratic process.
Yeah. The one bit of hypocrisy, too, I wanted to point out to you. It was funny, during the campaign, he brought Al Gore up here to Port Huron, Michigan, which is a little bit north of here.
Sure, I know Port Huron.
Yeah. And they're building a new bridge to Canada. And so, of course, they use it for the backdrop on building a bridge for the 21st century. But nobody saw the irony in David Bonyer, the leading critic of NAFTA, and Al Gore, the leading critic of the automobile, standing in front of a bridge taking credit for it.
Well, again, that's the nature of politics. John, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Houston. Jim High, welcome to the EIB network.
Rush, it's a privilege. And after 7 times, it proves persistence pays. I just want to let you know that I think you're having a tremendous impact